Hi there. Welcome to another edition of TokStocks. I'm your host, Keir Reynolds, and today we're lucky enough to have Andy Bowering, chair of the board of Apollo Silver, trades on the TSX Venture Exchange with the ticker APGO. Hey, Andy, how you doing?
I'm really good, Keir. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, they're really exciting times. Feeling good.
Well, you're a wily veteran, very successful, got a great body of work. I was wondering for some of my viewers who aren't familiar with you, if you wouldn't mind doing something that we all hate, but would you mind talking about yourself a little bit? How you sort of got into the business and a few of your past recent successes?
All right, sure. Yeah, I try and stay out of the spotlight. I like to keep my head down and go to work. And I've been in the business for 35 years. I've had 6 companies out of 10 or 11 bought for the benefit of all shareholders. And all the rest still trade today or are in the process of trying to get someone else interested in them. And so, recently I owned my own drilling company for a lot of years. So I get the operational end of things. I put a lot of my own money into things. So, like, we're going to talk about Apollo today, and I've got $7.5 million in it of my money and my family's money. And so I feel for everyday shareholders. Um, so Prime Mining is about 5 weeks away from being taken out at, I don't know, looks like $580 million of value right now. I started that at a market cap of $15 million and attracted Pierre Lassonde as the largest shareholder. I'm the second largest. And Millennial Lithium was a company I founded that got taken out by Lithium Americas for $460 million. And, that's, I don't know, head down, go to work. And it goes on. I've had some pretty good, and it's a team. I don't know, I'm the conductor and the pitch guy, but it's a team effort. I like to work hard. I like to put my money to work. I like good shareholders, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but I look for good assets that I think are out of favor, but there's something there I can fix to make them worth a lot of money. And then it's just a matter of getting the right team and the right shareholders. And if you get all those things done with a little bit of luck and, you know,
Well, congrats on the success there and the batting, the batting rate there. 6 out of 10 ain't so bad. That's fantastic. I'm not sure if I've ever spoken with another person with that type of track record. So good on you. You run something I think called Bowering Projects. Is that sort of where you help sort of incubate and identify these opportunities?
yeah, it's just my personal holding company and my operating company. Uh, and I try and we've got, I don't know, 25 or 30 people here with me in the office that we look for good ideas at the right time and, you know, try and figure out if there's an end game and something that we can put together that's going to make us some money and our fellow shareholders along the way.
And when you're looking for these opportunities, do you start with the people or do you start with the projects, or is it kind of a combination?
No, I start with the project.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost, trying to find something. And I mean, people that know me know that I've spent my entire life fixing things. I'm not an Elon Musk. I'm not a guy that thinks outside the box. I want to see something that's broken and inside the box, and I'll figure out how to fix it. Um,
That's good.
I believe me, I didn't think the internet was going to be a big deal in the beginning, and wow, was I wrong?
I think a few people were. There's definitely. I think some people thought maybe the fax machine was going to be much better than email, and there you go. Yeah, yeah. But anyways, congrats on the prime mining. 5 weeks, you said. Torax. I remember when Torax first got going in our sort of last sort of big bull market. It's been very successful. So a great candidate to sort of take you over, and excellent work putting that together. Now, let's talk Apollo. It's been sort of getting quite a bit of attention. You recently kind of restructured the company, um, tightened it up, and certainly it's trading at it's held that sort of rollback and then some. And looks like a great position sort of vehicle for the silver market, and silver's obviously been on fire. But maybe you could give us a little bit of kind of the elevator pitch. What's Apollo all about?
Apollo is a company that went public in 2021. Some friends said, "Would you do a silver company?" I said, "Okay." I raised $53 million at 75 cents a share. The we bought an asset from Pan American for 41 million. The market went south. Silver went from $29 to 20. It went south. We had a bad shareholder. That didn't help. In fact, that bad shareholder precluded Eric Sprott from getting involved. And then people said, well, if you're doing a silver deal, why isn't Eric in it? And that caused a problem. And anyway, the market went south on this, even though we thought we had a really good asset. We still put 20 million or so into the ground. We advanced it to the point where now it's 185 million ounces of silver, most of it measured and indicated, and some other critical minerals. But it's ready to go through economic study, and that's a pretty boring time. Like if you really look at the Lassonde curve for the life cycle of a mining company, that economic study point is the valley of death. And so for shareholders, so we figured we'd better find something to spice it up. And a good friend of mine, who was on the board of Mag Silver, said, "Hey, you got an interest in Cinco de Mayo?" And so, yeah, I did, because Cinco was a beautiful asset. It's a world-class asset that fits my narrative. It's something that's broken, and much like Prime Mining was built on an asset that people thought that there was going to be trouble with social license there, and it took us 9 months, but we got it fixed, and that unlocked hundreds of millions in market cap and attracted some world-class talent. And so they said Cinco de Mayo. I cut a deal on it. And so the elevator pitch now is you've got two great assets in two arguably mining-friendly jurisdictions. If you combine them and convert the gold to silver, combine measured, indicated, inferred, you got 400 plus million ounces of silver, lots of exploration upside, two critical minerals, and then a capital structure that's phenomenal, shareholder list that's even better. So I think the future is really bright for Apollo. And I'm talking too much, but the last thing I'd say is, I could have sold it a year and a half ago for, I don't know, 25 cents or 30 cents a share, and got all my money out and just some shareholders, but that's just not what we do. So here we are 4 years later, we've got it on rails, and I think it's going to look pretty good.
Excellent. Well, you mentioned sort of the Calico project kind of being development stage. Can you give us sort of a little bit more of an overview? Like where is it located? What type of deposit is it? And again, just kind of cover off the resources and what work you've got sort of upcoming on it.
Sure. Calico is it's in San Bernardino County. So for those that don't know, it is California, but San Bernardino has over 90 mining operations in the county. We are between Rio Tinto's Borax mine and Equinox's Castle Mountain gold mine, which recently got fast-tracked by the federal government. It's in a mining-friendly jurisdiction. In fact, it sits right next to the old Calico ghost town, the old mining museum and all that. And it's an area of historic silver mining in California. There's 185 million ounces of silver there. So 125 measured and indicated in the Waterloo deposit, another 59 million inferred in the Langtree deposit. There's 600 plus million pounds of zinc and 3.3 million metric tons of barite. Now, both zinc and barite are on the critical mineral list, the USGS critical mineral list, and silver is on the proposed list, which will be determined in the next 30 days, I think. If silver makes that list, you've got 3 critical minerals. You got the right place. It's as it's mostly measured and indicated. There's some exploration upside. I'm not even talking about 130,000 ounces of gold that's in another little deposit there, but it's ready to go through economic study. And so that's PFS by mid-2026, and then carrying into PEA by mid-2026, coupled with some more met work and some geotech drilling, and then that leads to PFS in 2027. But it's the second largest undeveloped primary silver deposit in the United States.
What's the sort of grade that you're looking at on a silver equivalent basis?
Well, we just took so on a silver, I don't actually know on a silver equivalent basis. The last resource was 110 million ounces measured and indicated at 103 grams silver, pure silver.
Okay.
Now that metal prices have moved, you can go to a lower cutoff. And so the engineers and geologists now tell us that there is 125 million measured and indicated ounces at 71 grams silver, now 0.5% zinc, adding the 600 million pounds. And then I want to say the barite's about 7 point something percent to add the 3.3. It's economics that drive these things at the end of the day. And so when you're thinking about, like, so we did some internal scoping work on it back when silver was about, I don't know, $22 or $24. And our internal work suggested that low 30s, 32 looked pretty good at a 100 gram cutoff. Or sorry, at a 50 gram cutoff. At a 50 gram cutoff. And so now that silver prices are, I don't know, 80% higher or 70% higher, you can actually probably drop the economic cutoff to 30 grams or somewhere thereabouts. That being said, there's still a lot of economic work to figure that out.
Right. And so, like you said, you're sort of on a engineering kind of path with the project. Is this a project that you're looking to kind of put a bow on for maybe somebody else to put into production at some point in a few years?
Well, I mean, okay, so I kind of want to talk. Here's what I think. If the San Bernardino County starts to talk to the street and the market hears that this is permittable, because people are always afraid of California. But but look at Castle Mountain just got their expansion permit, and Castle Mountain's known for their desert tortoise issues, and there's a lot of Joshua trees in that region. We don't have any of that issue. If California or the federal government or anybody starts talking about permitting at Calico and suggesting that it can happen, that's a major re-rate for us, like just a major re-rate, number one. And number two, when we talk about Cinco, I think your listeners are gonna come to understand that there's a real upside driver at Cinco de Mayo as well. And so now I'm gonna be a little forward looking. I think that we are the perfect takeout candidate for a company like Pan American, Coeur, or Hecla as soon as one or both of those changing events happen for us.
Well, that's a pretty good segue. Why don't we just get right into Cinco de Mayo? So it's a carbonate replacement style CRD deposit in a known CRD sort of belt. It's in Mexico, so perhaps some might consider a little bit more mining friendly compared to California, although it's had its own sort of mining issues. But I think everybody knows Mexico is synonymous for silver. So could you give us kind of an overview on the project? You seem pretty excited. It sounds like there's some great exploration upside to be had at it, but could you give us a good overview on Cinco de Mayo?
Yeah, Cinco de Mayo, as you mentioned, it's a CRD, and the world authority on those is a geologist named Peter McGaw. Did his PhD on CRDs, and he's got a interesting textbook image of what they look like. We actually use that cartoon in our deck, and it describes perfectly the geologic setting, what's been discovered so far, and what's possible. CRDs can run from 10 million tons to 100 million tons. Now, Peter, having been working at Cinco since 1990, will tell you that he thinks it could be one of the largest, if not the largest, in North America. 439 drill holes have already been put in it, and only 12 didn't have mineralization.
Wow.
There's
Great hit rate.
there's 155 million silver equivalent ounces there at 385 grams silver. That's made up of about 135 grams silver, 6.8% zinc, and 2.8% lead. And there's a little bit of gold and copper in the system as well. What's key, though, is that in 2011, MAG drilled hole 431, so very near the end, and 300 meters underneath the main two structures that hold that deposit already, 300 meters underneath, they hit 61 meters of massive sulphides. And you can see the grades on our website. It's, 210 gram silver equivalent. There's all kinds of juice in the system, 300 meters lower. That tells you that this thing's much bigger. And so MAG got kicked off the property, unfortunately, back in 2012. Mining was banned for 100 years, and no one ever got back to work at Cinco de Mayo. That's the real prize, is figuring out how to turn that around, get back to work there. And I'll tell you, there will be I've got friends in the industry, and I don't like to use their names in these things, but, they're some of the largest shareholders of Prime Mining, and they'll tell you that if we restore social license at Cinco, it's $1 billion deal. So.
And so that intercept, I think it was called the Pegaso intercept, if I'm not saying it incorrectly. And that looks like it might be a bit of a feeder system to sort of this CRD and unlocks some further sort of depth and size potential on it.
There you go. There is no drill hole close to that. So you got to go do some drilling there. And then you're going to find out either that's another manto or a chimney. It's going to be one of those two things, and time will tell, but it clearly indicates that there's something a lot bigger at depth. So
excellent. And so you were saying there's some community kind of issues, and like you said earlier in our chat, you like to sort of find things that might be a bit broken, but still within a box, and within the box. And so this is one of those things where you can kind of use some of the playbook that you've used before to help overcome hurdles, which are not impossible to sort of overcome. Is that what your thinking is here? Is that you can put this community stuff at and get some progress?
Absolutely. Yeah, we did this at Prime. We know how it's done. We've already been in the community. The macro level sets up great. On the micro level, in the area around Cinco de Mayo, the only thing that makes any money in the community are their pecan orchards and their chili farms, and they're in deep trouble there. They've gone through 15 years of drought. Their farms are very unproductive. They don't have any good irrigation systems. It's flood irrigate only. There's been no investment in it. I was just in the community, and they need something. They need help. And so here we are 13 years later, and we can show them all a path of how we've done this before, how we benefit the communities, how we invest in the communities, and how we share with the communities. And that's what this is all about. I said in the beginning, you need partners. You need partners in your raising your money. You got to have good shareholders as partners. Your employees got to be good partners. We all got to be rowing the boat together. And that's what's changing in in not just Mexico, but all over the world as these mining companies and exploration companies try and unlock value in other parts. We need to share it. And so, yeah, I'm absolutely convinced that we're going to tell the market within a few months that we're going to be going ahead to work at Cinco. I feel it in my bones.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the overview on that. Sounds like two very interesting projects. When you combine them, gives you some serious silver inventory on your balance sheet, which is something that's important when people are looking at, well, how do I get exposure to silver rather than just buying the bullion? Like, what are some silver companies to sort of have a look at? So great. Thanks very much for covering that. Why don't we turn kind of cap structure? How many shares are out? How many fully diluted? What's your insider ownership?
So there's 48 million shares issued and outstanding. Trades at $4 a share, so I'll call it a 200 million market cap. Fully diluted, there's 60 million shares issued and outstanding. Those additional 12 million derivative securities bring in about another 40 million in cash. And they're all in the money right now. So I'm expecting that we're going to see those come in the next several months. Today, we announced almost a $21 million private placement. It's all the current shareholders of the company. So it's Eric Sprott, me, Jupiter Asset Management, Commodity Capital, Prime Vests, and some
Right.
who's who,
Gotcha.
and some who's who names in the community.
Excellent. So, and then the traditional sort of private placement form hold, and how many units will be sort of issued for that?
I think it's almost 6 million units. So that's, and look, it's a share at $3.60 a share, and the warrant is at $5.50. So average those out, you're like $4.60 or thereabouts per share issuance for 12 million shares. So that brings in another 50-something million dollars in cash into the treasury. I think by next spring, 6 months from now, this company's armed with a war chest of, I don't know, $75 million in cash minimum, and is exploring hard at Cinco de Mayo, and is getting closer to delivering an economic study at Calico. And that's when we're going to be exciting to somebody.
You guys recently went through a bit of a restructuring and 145 sort of rollback. What was kind of the thinking there? Is it anything to do with like a US listing down the road, or you just wanted less shares out?
Now, let's appeal to U.S. shareholders. This thing traded 3 million shares every day on our primary exchange and several 100,000 or more on the two alternative exchanges. But, U.S. shareholders and their long-term shareholders, they're great shareholders. They're more amenable to share prices that are, trading in the dollars than at, say, 50 or 60 or 75 cents. So consolidating 5 for 1, once we were on a pretty good trajectory, made a lot of sense. And as you pointed out, I don't want to, you got to be a bit careful to promise bigger listings.
Yep.
The regulators don't like that, but it certainly makes it a lot easier with a share price in the dollars. So yeah.
Right. It's it's one of those things that we kind of see in a market cycle as we get into a bit more of a bullish market, and retail wants to get in. Also, U.S. investors want to get in. It can be a bit harder for them to get in any size if it's a Canadian sort of listing or one of these sort of QX, QB, sort of over the counter type listings. So it's increasingly for the right company that have real assets and whatnot. I'm noticing it's becoming one of those things sort of, again, much bigger pool of capital and many, many more magnitudes of retail investors that haven't yet really had much exposure to mining or resource stocks. Would you agree?
I absolutely. So yeah, we're really looking forward to, we think we appeal to the U.S. investor. And so,
well, I'd love to see, I'd love to see you get turned loose in those boardrooms down there and tell the story that you're telling. I think you'll do well. I was telling Sean Kun, I was really excited for him and Dolly to sort of get down. He's pretty good in boardrooms. Well, if he's good, I'd like to see you doing it. So what do you think about it in terms of Apollo sort of trading, your EV per ounce versus sort of other pure comparables? Would you think that because of the community issues of Cinco de Mayo and sort of maybe the misunderstanding on California, that maybe you've got some pretty robust re-rate or upside based upon that average sort of EV?
Absolutely. I'm sure we trade at a discount to our peers. I'm sure they're trading at probably $2 an ounce right now, and we're trading at 25% of that. Do I think that's going to change in the near term? Yes. And watch. We're going to go on a big campaign in the US. This company hasn't spent any money. That's not fair to say any money, but it's spent pennies trying to attract greater participation in the capital stock. We're about to do that. We're about to deliver news that I think changes people's opinions. And like I said this before, a year ago, I told everybody I thought that this was going to be my first double-digit stock. I've had stocks, 2 at $6, a few takeouts along the way, and 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 I've never had a double-digit stock. I think this is it. I told them before, $10 a share. I can see that easily. And of course, yesterday we got research coverage from Dave Talbot
Red Cloud.
suggesting a 1050 target. So at Red Cloud, you bet. So,
And do you guys have any other sort of analyst coverage, or is that the first coverage that you've received so far for Apollo?
no, SCP was the first to initiate. Desjardins did, but they were on hold. And then think there might be a research. And then there's notes. There's BMO put out a note one time, and there's been a couple of them, but you're going to see a lot more research coverage on this company. There's 2 or 3 now. There's more to come.
Excellent. And maybe just reiterate some of the catalysts. You've told us a few things here, like, I've never had a double-digit stock, and you think you're on the path towards that and feel excited about that. You talked about the war chest of cash and how you're going to get there based upon the share structure that you've got. What other sort of catalysts should we as shareholders sort of watch out for to help support you to get there?
Watch for the financing to close. Watch for some noise out of California. What our plans are there next, what people are going to say about California, and then I don't know, sometime in the next 60 days, expect a statement out of Mexico.
You're sort of known yourself as being a bit of a strategic shareholder. I'm sure you get asked a lot to write checks in other private placements and things. What do you think about the stage of the resource market that we're in now, as opposed to what it looked like 4 or 5 years ago?
This is the best market we've been in since 2004 to 2008.
Right.
And it's just beginning. You're just starting to see. Well, we had a request from the New Brunswick Pension Fund to participate in this financing. You're just beginning to see the generalists. You're just beginning to see broader retail engagement in here. It's early days. We're probably in inning 3. I think this goes for a long time. I think the Western world wants to try and catch up to all the investment that the Asian world and China specifically have put into mineral exploration, development, and production globally. And so it's early, and it's going to get really intense. And just look at Tether and what they're doing now, the crypto world that's coming over to our space. Like, hang on to your hat. Don't sell things too early. Here we go. You asked me about share ownership. My family owns 10% of this. Jupiter, and that's Jupiter Asset Management out of London, probably the largest independent silver fund globally, own 9%. Eric Sprott is at 4, going to about 6 or 7. Commodity Capital's at 4, going to 6 or 7. So is PrimeVest. Great shareholders. Yeah.
Well, Andy, I really appreciate your time and how excited you are about the space for somebody who's so accomplished also in the sector. So thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm a shareholder. I've been accumulating Apollo. Very excited with the moves that you've made. Was shareholder in Prime as well. So I've been sort of following you that way. Anyways, appreciate your time, Andy.
Excellent, Kier. Thanks. I had to go grab my pack. I just crazy schedule, but thank
No
you so
problem.
much. Thank you so much for the time. I would love to come on in a few weeks again. And we're an under promise, over deliver company. I like to tell people a couple things we're going to do and then come back and show you we did it and tell you what's next.
Excellent. Well, I'll let you get on, take your backpack, and run off to your next meeting. Literally, thank you again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Kier. Have a lovely day.